Hi everyone, this is week 3 now of the Bible reading experience, and this week we conclude the book of Job with a wonderful declaration by Job when he says to God, "My ears had heard about you, but now my own eyes have seen you." That is such a beautiful conclusion to the book. It's such a beautiful response from Job himself after all the suffering that he had experienced. And when he had now experienced God amidst of his suffering, it's such a wonderful thing to say. And my hope and prayer is that for you and me, we'd be able to say similar things when we experienced hard times, whether big or small. You know, John Piper says that when you go through any form of hardship or suffering, the objective of Satan is very simply to destroy your faith. And yet the objective of God is to build and to strengthen your faith. I pray that your faith is strengthened at every step of the way, at every stage of your life, no matter what you go through, no matter how big or small it is. Another beautiful verse in that last part of Job is when we are informed that God blessed the last part of Job's life even more than he had blessed the first. Such a wonderful conclusion, such a rich, rich story about the sovereignty of God, even through hardship. We also turn this week back to the book of Genesis, where we come to the story of Abram. We start off in chapter 12. Remember that the book of Genesis is a book of beginnings. We see a beginning of a story about God and his people. And the plot is very simply that God has always wanted a people for himself. And we see the beginnings of that when he starts to talk to Abram. He calls him to leave the household of his father, to leave his people, and to go to a place that he will show him. We see a story here about a God who is a covenant-making and a covenant-keeping God. He makes a covenant with Abram and a covenant with his people. We see the story of a God again who is sovereign. From a human perspective, we see the story of faith. We see a story of obedience. You will see it when Abram is called. He has no idea where he's going. All that he knows is that God has spoken to him, and he simply responds with obedience and faith, and he gets up and he goes. So I hope you enjoyed tracking the story of Abram and his descendants. This week you will see the birth of his son Isaac. You will see also the birth of Isaac's sons, Jacob and Esau. And we also go through to the death of Abraham. Let's track the story of a faithful God, and let's look for him in this experience. Let's find ourselves as well as we relate to guys like Abram. And as God calls you and me to faith and obedience, my prayer is that we will respond as Abram did and simply obey God with hearts full of faith. God bless you in week 3 of the Bible reading experience. Bye.